Hi, Josh and Mike here from Criterion Barrels, and today we're going to go over Savage Prefit installation.
There are a lot of advantages to Savage Prefit barrels. It takes what traditionally took several months to send off to a gunsmith into your own garage, and you can now do it within 15 minutes. It's very simple with some basic tools and a pair of headspace gauges.
And the beauty of it is you don't lose anything on the accuracy side. We've had a number of national records set from F-class shooters using those prefits.
Absolutely. Obviously, we take accuracy very seriously here at Criterion, and Josh and I wouldn't be sitting here telling you that it's a good product if it was something that we didn't personally use ourselves.
Absolutely. So let's cut over to Nick here and see how the installation goes through. When installing a Savage barrel, we recommend using an action wrench, a barrel nut wrench, and a go and no-go gauge. For the Savage prefits, you don't need to use a Northland Shooter Supply taper lock tool, and we also don't recommend using a barrel vise to install these Savage prefit barrels.
Alright, step one for installing your Savage prefit barrel is to install the action into the action wrench.
So with those 1/4 inch bolts, you're going to want to torque it down a maximum of 10 foot-pounds. The 1/2 inch bolts, you're probably going to want to torque those down about 10 to 15 foot-pounds. So not too much pressure, but just enough where it locks it into place securely.
Also, you'll see that the action wrench is in 2 parts. You want to keep those halves evenly spaced when you torque down the nuts.
So if you over torque the 1/2 inch bolts, it'll put just enough clamp on the action where it'll be hard to thread or unthread the barrel to the action. Once again, we want to reiterate that you don't want to use a barrel vise to remove or install a Savage barrel onto the action. So we're going to want to clamp that action wrench in a bench vise. You can either unthread the handle from the action wrench. Depending on the size of your bench vise, you can leave the handle on and let the handle hit against the center arm of the bench vise. For this video, we just took it off, so it makes things easier and more maneuverable, and then you're good to go. So the following step then is to install the barrel nut wrench.
You want to use a breaker bar and not a hammer to do that.
Yeah, so then you're going to want to remove that breaker bar and the barrel nut wrench and unthread the barrel from the action. So that's when you're removing the original barrel before you're replacing it. So now that you've got that barrel ready to install, you're just going to basically clean the action threads.
Make sure the barrel, chamber, and threads are all clean of any debris.
That bolt that you're using here, your Savage bolt, you're going to want to remove the ejector pin from the bolt. If you're installing a barrel on a bighorn action, you're going to want to also remove the extractor. And that's a pretty simple operation altogether.
And also, of course, you guys use a little bit of anti-seize on the barrel threads before you put that nut down.
Yeah, you don't want that locking down, and then when you want to take it off in 6 months or a year, you're going to have a bear of a time getting it loose. Next step is head spacing the barrel using a go and no-go gauge. The overall length of those gauges will vary depending on what cartridge you're using. If you have any questions about those, feel free to give us a call. We'd be more than happy to help out. When you're torquing that barrel nut down, you're probably going to want to torque it to about 45-50 foot-pounds altogether.
Do not try to figure out how far the torque wrench is from the barrel nut.
Yeah, just set the torque wrench to 45-50 foot-pounds and torque the barrel nut. If you're using 11-inch barrel nut wrench, use the 1/2 inch hole closest to the barrel. Just make sure you always recheck the go and no-go gauge after you torque the barrel into place. Just make sure everything's settled in where you want it to be.
That's it, guys. It's really straightforward. It takes about 15 minutes to get this down, and it's a really simple way to get a really accurate gun, and to make sure that in the future you can switch calibers, you can change out barrels, and it's all something that you can do in your garage.
Yeah, it's pretty much plug and play. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email or give us a call. Information can be found at www.criterionbarrels.com, or give Northland Shooter Supply a call. They're our primary distributor for these barrels and should be able to help you out.